Good morning, everyone. This is part 3 of fact finding and going beyond assumptions. Okay, so we've talked about assumptions that could be made about us based on our identity and the assumptions that we may have made about other people, and how a way to break down those assumptions is by asking the right questions. Okay, so we're going to talk today a little bit more about what those questions would look like. Okay, so a great way to combat assumptions is to search for the facts. So by finding these facts, we could ask these 5W questions: what, who, where, when, and why. Okay, so the 5Ws give you the basic information you need to understand a situation. So it's like, for example, if you see a flyer posted around Bruce, it's in the hallway that says tryouts for the soccer team have been canceled because the coaches decided to choose students at random to create the team. So you could use these 5Ws to gather the facts, right? You could be like, who posted this flyer, right? What is the reason for making the announcement this way? Why use a flyer? Why not write to students directly who are already trying out or whatever that is, right? Where will the coach find the students for the team? If they're choosing it randomly, then where are they going to get these students? How are they going to choose randomly exactly? And when did this flyer get posted? Is this an old flyer that I'm just seeing now, or is this posted recently? Okay, why would the soccer coach, pick players at random instead of holding tryouts? Right? If that was the all the information you had was this flyer that said that students would be chosen at random, then you ask what, who, where, when, and why. Okay, so that's what we mean by the 5Ws. Those very basic questions that give us more information. Okay. So there are also other clues to spot assumptions that might be disguised as facts, right? Okay, so we have the sensational headlines, okay? Like you think of when you're in the grocery store aisle and you see those tabloids that say, oh, divorced again or whatever, right? So a flashy headline is meant to catch your attention. But sometimes these can exaggerate the facts. It might not always be accurate, right? So just remember that when you see these sensational headlines, that the headline is trying to get your attention. The goal, is not always to get you to read more into it, right? But it's important to, instead of just taking the headline for what it is, to ask questions to understand it further. Okay, we also have these psychological tricks. So salespeople may have mental tricks to get you to buy their products. So for example, they may say something like 80% of teenagers like you love this product. Can you see this trick? And just because 80% of the teenagers bought it, do you have to, right? So this is something by saying, if you want to be like the rest of the teenage population, then you need to buy this thing, right? So that's how they get you, by putting you in a situation where you have to decide, do I want to be more like my peers or less like them, okay? So that's a psychological trick. Okay, also source. We talked about those tabloids, okay? But do these facts come from a tabloid, like a sensational magazine, just trying to get your attention by headlines? Or is it from a scientific journal, right? That actually has like evidence-based facts that support the idea. So facts that come from a source with respected reputation may be based on more evidence. So depending on where you're looking at for your information, there are some things that might be less true, right? And so a scientific journal is something that's actually been tested and proven. Okay. So this makes me think of a time when I moved to Denver, and there's this sign on the front of this restaurant that says "Best Burger in the City." And I was like, ooh, I got to try that burger, right? Because I like burgers, and if it's the best one in the city, then I got to try that, right? But then I started to think about it a little bit more, and I'm like, wait a minute. How does somebody decide? Who gets to decide? It's not like the mayor of the city, and even then, that's only one person, right? Who gets to decide what the best burger in the city is? Okay. First of all, my idea of a good burger might be very different from somebody else's idea. So then how does a restaurant get away with posting, oh, we have the best burger in the city, when that's not entirely true, because there's really no way to test that, right? People have different tastes. I'm sure there's hundreds and hundreds of places that sell great burgers, right? So how do you really decide that? So I did try the burger. It was not the best in the city. But that is like a way of advertising, right? That's like a similar thing to this like this sensational headline, right? It's showing you this is the best burger in the city, and then you feel like you have to have it because of course you want to try the best burger in the city, but that's not always true because how do you determine what that is? Okay, so that's something that comes to mind. Okay, so we talked about assumptions made about us. We've talked about assumptions made about others. Okay, so what about an assumption that you've come across in the media? Okay. Like that was an example that I gave, right? That it doesn't even really have to be media, just like in your world, something that comes to mind. Okay. That burger place, that was an example. Um, so what questions, when you think of this assumption in the media or wherever, what questions can you ask to help combat the assumption? Right? And then just write in your journal. So this is not assumptions made about you or another person that you know. It's an assumption that you've seen in the media or questions that you would ask in order to find out more information about that specific thing. Okay. So take a minute, write that down, talk about it with the person next to you, talk about it as a group, talk about it however you want to talk about it. And we will see you tomorrow.